Welcome to Mass Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Bourbon County season. That's right. 2025 Bourbon County Stout, but not the base. If I do reviews of Bourbon County Stout when they come out, this is a little bit early. We're about a week away from Black Friday. But I went to my local place, and I was diddling, dalling, and went to the little barrel aged section. And lo and behold, they had two. They had I think it was a chocolate espresso kind of version. Then they had this, and I was like, okay, a little bit pricier than the base, but they weren't, in the 40s or even the 30s. It was very, very low 20s. And I saw this. It says Bourbon County variant, Cherries Jubilee cask finished stout. I'm a huge fan of cherry vibes in my big burly Russian Imperial barrel aged stouts. One of my favorite flavors. So I flip it along the back here. What do we have? We have here, this is an Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels and finished in cognac barrels with Monterey cherries, orange zest, panela, and natural flavors. Okay, panela, don't know what that is. Natural flavors. Cognac and maraschino, or is it Montmorency cherries. Cherries check. Cognac barrels check. One of my favorite barrels for beers to go into. So take the Bourbon County base, which I'm always a big fan of, and add stuff that this guy can be even more of a fan of. Decided to pick it up. We'll post it early, so y'all can see my thoughts before you go out and buy it. I brought back. It's been a while since I used that sucker in a beer review by request by my boy Guy. Thank you very much, brother. Yeah. Let's see what this lands. $33 American. That's what this cost me to give you an idea of what we paid price wise. Give it a pour. Get a cap on this sucker. See where we land. Label wise, forgot they don't really like to stick in the Bourbon County so much they pop out. The carbonation gets them out. Anyway, classically, I mean, honestly, like when I talked about beer labeling and design, take it for what it's worth, AB, embed, blah, blah, blah. This is probably one of the slicker bottle designs and labeling that, from the embossing to this little tab, the whole nine. I've always loved it from the get. I hate that they moved away from the four packs, even though that's coming back with the base. Yeah, always dig the label. So as far as the beer goes, not much of a head on a sucker. You have a lot of different moving parts in this, so I'm not expecting a gigantic head on it, to be perfectly honest with you. And as far as the beer looks, it definitely has like a reddish tinge to it. So, take that cognac in there, but more specifically those cherries. I just assume it looks a little bit more like a blended barley wine, kind of a stout barley wine kind of look to it, as opposed to a base kind of stout. It has these red tinges all over. Let's put it that way. So it looks fun. Let's give it a whirl. Let's give this a huff. Yeah, man, that's explosive. Stopping short of rocket fuel. There's a heat on here. Did we get ABV on this? They usually throw it down here. 14.5%. For those that want to keep track at home, this is the 21st of July, 2025 bottling. And it has some code on it, which is GI 1141. So I know they put in some secret codes in their stuff, so I figured I'd let you know. Man, it is very, very vibrant. The alcohol, burning your nostrils slightly. Again, 50% barrel aged stout. Not opposed to that. Cherries galore. Cherries galore, and very much like a cherry, not necessarily a Montmorency kind of, or cherry in general kind of cherryness. It's almost like the syrup. If you had that old school cherry cokes, back in the day, they used to take an actual Coca-Cola out and drink it, pour some cherry juice from the cherry jar in there. It's got that kind of cherry going for it. Not opposed to that either. A big spirit character. I'm not going to sit here and say it's cognac and bourbon. It just comes off as a big kind of spirit character married with that high ABV of the beer. And then beneath all that, there is that core stout. I'm getting chocolates. I'm getting roasty toastiness. So I'm getting all the bits and pieces here. Lemon zest, not so much. Whatever panela is, I don't know. It's probably something simple. They just call it that, so it confuses simpletons like me. But it smells, again, to me, more like outside of the stout area. Just the way the beer comes off, again, almost like it's a blended thing with a barley wine or something of that. That I'm not hating on either. It's a very explosive, very vibrant beer. Let's go dive into that taste. Cheers, y'all. Man, that's hot. It's definitely use a little bit of time. The flavors are there. First off, mouthfeel. It's nice. Again, I'll harken back to what I've repeated several times now. Very much like a blended barley wine, stout kind of vibe to it, more than a stout. Not hating on that, but the mouthfeel is probably a little bit low for a stout, but very fine for a barley wine. The lack of carbonation kind of led you to believe that was going to be the case here, and it is, but it's not ruining the experience at all. I really do believe you get that cognac and those cherries in here at a very, very elevated rate. And it's not like that's overpowering the beer itself. Again, that chocolate is there, the little roasty toastiness, a little bit of bittering, but you're getting this something extra on top of what you'd expect from bourbon. And I believe it's a combination of that cherry and that cognac. You're getting that little bit of kind of a wine based kind of spirit kind of thing going on there. With this kind of just rich, redder fruitiness outside of what you typically get from like a cherry. Then when you throw those kind of cherries on there, again, more so that cherry juice from the jar as opposed to the cherries themselves, that has this little bit of sweetness to it, this little bit elevated beyond what the cherry typically gives you. And like I said, the beer's definitely still there. It's probably a secondary player below those flavor points, but not by much. And this reminds me of a very old barley wine, an aged barley wine. That's where this one lands more so than a base kind of rich, robust stout. And believe you me, I am not hating on that. One of my biggest annoyances at Bourbon County is just they don't have their base barley wine anymore. The base barley wine at 12, 13, 14, I think it was, is when I stopped. Maybe I could be wrong. Was some of my favorite barley wines going. And it was more so like this than it was like just a plain Jane barley wine. It had this kind of richer, kind of aged kind of vibe to it, to where it had this like just this darkness to it, this richness, this density is what you get from an old stock at Hardy's or Lee's at the 10 to 15 year mark. And that's where this one kind of time travels to. I have a hard time. I really believe if I drank this blind, I would think this is an old barrel aged barley wine, like it was something with several years on it. That's the way this comes off to me. Now, maybe those little bit of rich chocolate roastiness, toastiness that's sitting in there kind of steers me back to the stout world. But again, to say it for the umpteenth time, I think I'd eventually go, I think this is a blended stout barley wine barrel aged beer. After several sips, now that heat, now that little zip of hotness has dissipated, or I've acclimated is probably the better way to explain it, and now has gotten to the point where it's just super drinkable in the most scariest way possible. I really, really enjoy this. Like, really enjoy this. I don't know what Panea is. Panella? It's probably Panea. Not Paella, Panea. I dare say I'm getting that orange zest too. I not dare say I do. I now get the orange zest. I can taste that little bit of spritzy citrus, kind of just that little bit of rindiness, adding that to the complex amount of flavors that's going on here. For me, it's probably one of the more complex yet thoughtfully balanced Bourbon County I was going to call it barley wine, BCBS beer with adjuncts. They tend to be a little bit heavy-handed for me. They tend to be a little bit herky-jerky. This one tastes a little bit more thought out, a little bit more purposeful, a little bit more like culinary, like, the zest here comes off. You don't want zest to be over the top of the food. I make the citrus steak, skirt steak every now and then, and it very much the citrus on that. That's how the citrus kind of comes off on this for me, and the way that bourbon barrel marries with the cognac barrel, but the cognac barrel adds a little bit extra level to it, marries well with those cherries, and giving me that experience that vacillates, one of my favorite words of all time, between barley wine and stout. This is absolutely fantastic. One of the better bourbon counties that I've had in quite some time, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm glad I picked it up. And I'll tell you this, my thought process on this is where it lands as far as how much I like it and where it compares to other bourbon counties. When I first sipped it, I was like, I like it, but I think it's kind of, it's, But now that I sip it more, now that I acclimated to it, now that I drink it more, I really do think it's one of the better ones that they produced. Maybe it's that soft spot in my heart that harkens back for the base barley wine, and I want more barley wine from Bourbon County. But this is absolutely fantastic, and just bringing an explosive amount of flavors and a very palatable package. Again, everything here is very electric, but it doesn't get too electric to where it's just too much. Like I'm to be able to drink this glass easy. Again, 15%, very scary. But at the same time, yeah, I'm glad I picked it up. Like I said, I really don't go out of my way to pick up the Bourbon County variants in New Jersey, minus when they go on sale. In New Jersey, here we're lucky that their portfolio gets a decent representation. Not the super high end ones, but the outside of the rares and stuff like that, they all find themselves on shelves in Jersey. And lucky for me, and not so lucky for Goose Island, AB InBev, they tend to sit. New Jersey tends to discount them. This, if it sits on a shelf, will go from 23 to 17, within the next 6 to 12 months. That's typically when I pick them up and decide to review them. But I felt a little saucy today. Felt in a little bit of treat yourself, it's holidays and whatnot. And I'm glad I did because this is absolutely fantastic stuff. And honestly, makes me just want more barley wine from Bourbon County. So yeah, I don't know what else you want me to say. I absolutely love this. Let's cut to the chase. This is one of the better barrel aged beers. Let's call it that, as opposed to stouts as of late. Mount Rushmore status. I'm gonna say yes. It's not. I don't do a ton of barrel aged stuff. What I do is sent to me typically, and I'm being hard pressed to find one that is for better than this in my recent memory. So yeah, Mount Rushmore status. Value and availability, like I said, $23 off a shelf in New Jersey. Leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like the Bourbon County Stout line, you don't mind AB and Bev paying for their beers. And to be perfectly honest with you, you hearken for the days of them making barley wines. I find this to be very much like a blend. I'm not saying it tastes like those beers, but think Jackie O's has done a lot of barley wine stout blends. If you ever had those, kind of think of that. It has that kind of vibe to it, at least for me. So if those are the flavor profiles you dig and you like expressive and vibrant barrel aged beers that are creepily drinkable after our first couple sips, I think you're going to dig it. So there you go. Reviewing the books. Hopefully you enjoyed. Massive Beers, if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff, Beer Massive podcasting stuff, and Bourbon County. What are your thoughts on their beers, their production, their practices, their ownership, whatever you want to talk about? Have you had this? I'm really curious to see what everybody thinks about this beer. I think Bourbon County as a whole is relatively universally loved, except for those that are really want to stand on their hoist themselves in their own petard and talk about, boycott this, boycott that, ABMF. I get it. You do you. But really interested to see what you think about this beer and where it plays and how you think it plays and what it tastes like to you. All that stuff. Let's talk about it down below. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying some holiday goodness right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.